Hi everyone, it's Shell, and today I'm going to be going over some of my Blender tips, especially for people who are new to Blender, so that you don't end up like me wanting to scream into a pillow and commit arson out of frustration. Anyways, this video has been requested by quite a lot of people, so yay, it's finally happening. Also, I guess this is my face and voice reveal, so hi! Okay, so the first problem I encountered when I first started using Blender was difficulty zooming in. So say you have this scene and you're trying to zoom in on this object, but no matter how much you try and zoom in, it just won't go any closer. To fix this problem, go to Edit, then Preferences, then click on Navigation, then turn on Auto Depth. Now when you try and zoom in on the object again, you should be able to do it easily. The next commonly faced problem is having a hard time finding the bake button. So for context, anytime you're trying to run a simulation, whether it's a fluid or fire simulation, you'll need to bake your simulation. If you're trying to bake your simulations but you can't find the bake button, simply go to Cache and make sure you turn the type from Replay to Modular. And ta-da, there's the bake button. Now you can go ahead and bake your simulation. Now for rendering animations, there are two ways that you can do this. The first way is to render each frame of your animation as separate images, then compile the images into a sequence, then render your image sequence into a video file. To render your animation following this method, go to Output Properties, then scroll down to Output. Always make sure you have a folder created for your project so that your animation will be saved to the folder when rendering. Keep the file format at PNG and click Render and render as animation. Now Blender will render each frame of your animation as images, and after Blender finishes rendering, the folder you created for your project should contain every frame of your animation. To turn these image sequences into a video file, go back to Blender, click on Editor type on the top left hand corner, and click on Video Sequencer. In the Video Sequencer, click on Add, then click on Image Sequence. Now find the folder you created for your project and then select all frames of your animation. Make sure you put 0 for start frame, and for the end frame, put whatever total number of frames that there are for your animation. Mine has a total of 65 frames, so I'm just going to put that for the end frame. Now click Add Image Strip, and the image strip should show up here. Now go back to Output Properties on the right, and this time change the file format from PNG to FFmpeg. Now Blender will compile every frame of your animation into a video file. This step should only take a second or so, and ta-da! You got your animation rendered into a video file. The second way is to just render your animation as a video file from the beginning. All you have to do is go to Output Properties and change the video file format from PNG to FFmpeg, then click Render and render animation. Now Blender will render your animation as a video file as a whole. The first method is definitely the safest way because in the case that Blender decides to crash in the middle of rendering, as it loves to do very often, or something happens to your computer, you won't lose all of your progress. You can continue to render from whichever frame Blender jumped off of. Whereas the second method, if Blender decides to crash, then you have to start all over again, which can be really frustrating. Now my next tip is for realistic lighting. If you want to achieve realistic lighting for your scene, use HDRIs. It's the best and easiest way you can get realistic lighting in your scenes. HDRIs are essentially panoramic photos that covers 360 degrees of an environment, and it's useful when you want to simulate the lighting of one environment into your scene. You can download HDRIs for free from websites such as HDRI Haven, which I'll leave the link to the website below in the description box. Once you've downloaded the HDRI you want, go back to Blender and click on the Shading tab, then switch from Object to World, delete Background, and add Environment Texture. Open the HDRI you just downloaded, and now when you go to render mode, you should be able to see how the HDRI lighting affects your scene. By using HDRI, you don't have to worry about how or where to set up your lighting, as the HDRI does everything for you, which is pretty cool. So here's my last Blender tip for y'all, which is setting up a depth of field for your scene. So if you've seen my recent blue side animation, you probably noticed there's some camera depth going on. The area where it's farther away from the treasure box looks more blurry, and the reason for that is because I set up depth of field in my scene. So to do that, click on the camera and then turn on depth of field. Then use the eyedropper to select the object you want the camera to focus on. You can adjust the depth of field by adjusting the f-stop. And you kind of just play around with the number of the f-stop until you like what you see. And ta-da! There you go, you got your depth of field. Now I'm going to introduce you all to my must-have and favorite add-ons for Blender. The first add-on is Extra Objects, and this add-on is fun in the sense that it provides you with already created meshes such as teapots or factory walls. Just click on Mesh, then click on Extra and click Teapot, and bam, there you got a teapot. The second add-on I would like to go over is Blender Kit. Now this add-on, I really wish someone had told me it existed before I even started doing Blender, because let me tell you, this baby saves you so much time. Blender Kit is essentially a material library provided by Blender itself, which contains a gallery of both free and available for purchase 3D models and textures, as well as HDRIs and brushes that you can use. Say you need a chair for a scene you're working on. Simply click on Models, then type in chair in the search bar. Simply select the chair you want from the model gallery, and then just wait a few seconds, and bam, there you got a chair. After I discovered this add-on, it saved me so much time, and I'm just mind blown. Just make sure your device is connected to the Wi-Fi, otherwise Blender Kit will not work. The next add-on is ANT Landscape, and this add-on basically auto-generates a landscape for you. By landscape, I'd say it's more like a mountain, but you can also create deserts and other types of landscape with this add-on. You can adjust how steep or smooth you want your landscape to be here, and how many bumps you want by adjusting the numbers. Now the next add-on is Dynamic Sky. This add-on auto-generates a sky for your scene, and you can adjust the color of the sky as well as the brightness and cloud density here. I would say that this add-on is more so for when you are looking for a specific sky color or type of sunset. If you want a more realistic sky lighting or environment, I would definitely still suggest you use HDRI instead. The next add-on is Bool Tool, and this add-on is very convenient when you're trying to make shapes or holes in objects that aren't square or rectangle shape. So say you want to make a hole in a cube. What you do is you go to Modifier Properties, then you select the pooling modifier. Make sure you're on Difference and use the eyedropper next to Object and select the sphere. Make sure you apply the modifier and then delete the sphere, and bam, you got a hole in the wall. It's that simple. The next add-on I would like to go over is Real Snow, which generates realistic snow texture on the objects in your scene. The process can take a few minutes depending on how powerful your computer is and how efficiently it runs, but yeah, I use this add-on to create my scene for my Spring Day animation, so it's quite helpful when you're trying to create a scene which involves snow. Hello everyone! Yes, it is the next day, and yes, I did get a haircut. I was very productive. Hey! So that's pretty much it for this video. Some of you guys have asked me if I could make a tutorial on some of the animations I've done in the past, which I'll definitely consider doing in the near future. But for now, this is pretty much it. I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I will see you next time.